In Fly Away, Peter, Jim refuses to conform to societal and familial pressures. Jim perceives planes as an invasion to the sky, a territory that is reserved for birds. He resented its bulk, the lack of purpose in its appearance and disappearance at the tree line, the lack of pattern in its lumbering passes, a disturbance anew. The use of anaphora stresses how Jim perceives the planes as empty shells devoid of meaning, disregarding the societal connotations of patriotism and nationalism which were encouraged during World War I. This reveals that humans can resist change despite society's pressures to think and perceive in a certain way. Similarly, Jim demonstrates that he can withstand against pressure from personal influences. Jim describes his father's abusive nature with a sense of repugnance. He didn't want to be infected. It allowed nothing to exist under its breath without being blackened, torn up by the roots, slashed at, and shown when ripped apart to have a center as rotten as itself. The violent metaphor shows that despite his father's influence, Jim is able to forge an identity that is distinct from and independent to his father's toxic behaviors. This demonstrates how some individuals have the capacity to resist oppressive forces despite the allure of conformity, constituting a complex behavior. Jim's ability to hold out against pressures of conformity reveals that humans can break away from dominant influences surrounding them. Rather than being hindered by his present experiences, Jim looks both outwards and inwards to find what he needs. The horrors of war that Jim is experiencing has led him to envision the war would go on growing out from here till the whole Earth was involved. The immense and murderous machine that was in operation up ahead would require more and more men to work it, more and more blood to keep it running. The use of metaphors shows Winston's fear heightening and overwhelming other parts of his personality. This reveals how negative external forces can crush the human spirit and cause individuals to become disillusioned and disenchanted. But instead of staying hopeless and defeated amidst his dire circumstances, Jim still finds strength in his own distinctive way. During the war, while other soldiers are sharing stories to gain a sense of comfort, Jim finds his security in birds. But more reassuring than all this displays the stories of a life that was continuous elsewhere, a kind of private reassurance for him alone was the presence of the birds. The motif of birds symbolizes how they bring a sense of respite and reclusion to Jim from the brutality around him. He looks to the natural world to feed his spirits, revealing how humans can seek solace in aspects of the world other than people and their immediate environment. Jim's unique love of nature has liberated him from circumstances of war, revealing that individuality in humans can affect how they live, even changing the outlook on life.